Have you ever wondered why the middle C is called the middle C? It's not exactly in the middle of the piano, right? It's slightly to the left if you have a full-size keyboard. Today, I'm going to explain to you where this name comes from. I'm going to help you how to find not only C, but all the other keys on the piano. And I'm going to give you a ways of memorizing and learning the names of the keys on the piano. Hi, I'm Kristina Lee, and one of my passions is to introduce the world of piano and music to beginner pianists. And if you are a beginner and maybe you haven't learned anything about piano yet, you're in the right place. The name middle C actually refers back to not the keyboard, but our writing system for music. We call that notation. Piano music is unique in the sense that we use the grand staff to write piano music. If you've never heard of the name staff, it's spelled S-T-A-F-F. Staff is made up of 5 lines. And this is where we write our music, regardless of what instrument you play. Now, most instruments just get one staff because all of their notes can be written in that one staff. Piano gets 2 staffs, which we call grand staff, because piano has 88 keys and covers all notes of the instruments. If you see this diagram, you can see what I mean. The upper staff, which usually has treble clef, is for the right hand, and the upper staff is for the higher notes on the piano. The lower staff usually has bass clef, and our left hand just by naturally plays the lower notes on the piano. I just want to say that it's not always like that. Sometimes we have 2 treble clefs, which means both of your hands are going to be playing higher notes. And you can also have 2 bass clefs, which means both of your hands are going to be playing the lower notes. But normally, you have treble clef on top and bass clef on the bottom. Now, theoretically speaking, what is right in the middle of the 2 staffs is middle C. And we use a special line, a short line called ledger line, to indicate that it's in between the staff. There's more to it, but I just want you to understand that that's why it's called middle C. If you want to understand more about, you can check out my course, Simple and Beautiful Piano for Adult Beginners, where I go more in depth about piano music and how to read piano music. But for now, I want you to just understand that the name middle C comes from the writing system, not the keyboard. And now we're going to find our middle C. The way we find which key is which key on the piano is by looking at the patterns of the black keys. You can see that the patterns go from 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3 black keys. I'm wearing this shirt on purpose because if the piano was like my shirt, if it was just a consistent pattern without any gaps, we would not know which note is which note. It would just be much more difficult. But because we have the groups of 2s and 3s with little gaps in between, we can easily find our notes. We find C by looking at the 2 black keys first. And then we go to the left side or the lower side of the 2 black keys, and that's C. Okay, so C, and here's another C, another C, another C. Now this very high note is also C too. We don't have the 2 black keys to give us little visual clues about it, but if you count it, that will be C as well. Okay, and then back to our middle C, and then here's our C, here's our C, and here's our C. But how do we find the middle C? On a full-size keyboard, which has 88 keys, you can count from the very lowest C, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's middle C. That's why it's also called C4 sometimes. But just to make it more complex, some people use a different system and the very lowest C is C0. So in that case, it would be C3. So it is a little bit confusing, but I just want you to know that there are different systems of naming this C, but it's always called middle C. When we're learning to read music, we first learn the names of the white keys because the black key names are alterations of the white keys. So we talked about how this is C, right? The next note higher up is D. So we say that we're going up by steps when we just go to the adjacent key. Next one is E. We're going higher up. F, G, and then it's A, B, back to C. So there are only 7 letters that you have to learn. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Not hard at all. But to really understand the keyboard and be able to use the letter names more effectively, I want you to think of it as C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Because again, it goes back to the patterns that we have. A is kind of in the funny place right here, right? Okay, you can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's fine too. But to really become familiar with the keyboard. Now, we call a lesson like this keyboard geography. And I really recommend that people understand keyboard geography first before they start reading music, because that's when it will make more sense. And you can practice just memorizing these keys just by playing one note at a time and naming it. C, E, G. There's F. There's the A. That was not A. That's D. Okay. That's A. Okay. So you can do that. You can also use this wonderful iPad apps. One of my favorites is called Bees Keys. And you can use that to just practice identifying the names one at a time. Once you got that down, I suggest that you practice the names by saying 3 notes at a time. So you can say C, D, E, okay, and then D, E, F, G. We're just going up by steps. And you know what's even better than just saying the names? Is by singing. If you can sing, you're gonna get a lot more benefit, because at the end of the day, note names are just note names. But if you can put a tone, a pitch to it, that's gonna really help you to connect with your instrument and music. So C, D, E, D, F, E, F, G, F, G, A, G, A, B, C. And then try to go back down. C, B, A, B, A, G, A, G, F, G, F, E, F, E, D, E, D, C, so on and so forth. And then something that's really gonna be helpful is if you start doing it in skips. Skip is when we skip a key and go to the next key. Okay, so we can do C, G. Now, if you're just thinking about A, B, C, D, E, F, G alphabet and try to do this, I bet it's not that easy. The reason I can do this is because I can picture the keyboard in my mind, or I can look at the keyboard, like D, F, A, D, F, A, E, and try to go down. C, A, F, B, G, A, F, B. So in this way, you're not just like, oh yeah, I know the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but really connect with your instrument. Otherwise, it's just an information you know that's not really useful. Another way to practice this is just like by randomly writing down the notes and quiz you, right? Like G, A, D, C, E, B, and then try to play it, okay? G, A, D. I can also go G, A, D because there's more than one D, right? C, B, or I can go C, B. So I would just also recommend that you start by putting 3 letters and just practice with 3-letter groups. If you're a beginner, please check out my course. That's where I really explain everything in depth and have you go through exercises and take you to the next step of using this knowledge in making and playing really beautiful music. Good luck and see you soon.